thank you to everyone for joining this webinar today on how to pass offshore drilling resolutions in your local area. So on this call, actually let me just introduce myself. I'm Ash Loth. I'm the California Field Campaigner with Ignite Change, the center's new grassroots organizing network. And I'm really excited to have you here today. And I'm joined by my co-host, Blake.
How's it going, everyone? My name is Blake Kopshow. I'm the Oceans Campaigner here with the Center for Biological Diversity, and this is the main campaign that I'm working on to stop the expansion of offshore oil and gas drilling and fracking off the California coast, but in all of our oceans as well. And really pleased to be here with all of you this evening. So thanks for joining us.
Great. So on this call tonight, we're going to do a handful of things. So we're going to review the campaign context, why we're using resolutions as tactics, and why your cities and county writ large are really important in this fight. Then we're going to discuss how to get a resolution effort going in your area, starting with hosting an organizing meeting, connecting with other activists, and then really diving deep into the campaign planning. And after that, we're going to take a deep dive into the resolution how-to guide. You probably have already seen this in some of our materials, but don't worry, we'll also include it in the chat box on the side. And then finally, we're going to wrap it up with questions and answers. But if you have since you're all muted, if you have a question at any time, just feel free to put that into the chat box on the side. And to open the chat box, you can find the icon at the bottom of your screen. So this call should last between 45 minutes and an hour, depending on how many questions we get asked. Okay, cool. So to get started, I am going to just open it up, actually, for all of you to share. So I'd like to know what is bringing you here tonight, what's motivating you to take this step, and what excites you about this type of activism. I'll go first just to model. So I'm here tonight because I know that Trump's attacks on our oceans are terrible, but I also know that his attacks on our democracy is also horrific and frightening. And I'm really excited to take action, passing resolutions at the local level, because I see it as really a great intersection between protecting our planet and protecting our democracy by taking action into our hands and really affecting change both locally, but then also connecting back into the national narrative of fighting Trump's attacks. So if you'd like to share and you're on video, then go ahead and raise your hand. And you can do that. You can raise your hand by clicking the participants icon at the bottom of your screen, and then clicking raise hand at the bottom of the side column that appears after you click the participants icon. So I'll just repeat that once. Click the participants icon at the bottom of your screen, then a sidebar is going to appear on the right-hand side. And then at the bottom of that, you're just going to click raise hand at the bottom of the screen. So go ahead, and if you'd like to share what is bringing you here tonight, what excites you, what's motivating you to take this step to protecting our planet and our oceans, go ahead and raise your hand now. All right. Hopefully folks are finding the raise hand. And if you can't find it as a button, just go ahead and raise your hand in the screen since we can see all of you. So if you'd like to share, go ahead and raise your hand. Also, I would just like, go ahead, Blake.
Oh, I was going to say Jack wants to share.
Oh, great.
Jack, your mic is live.
Hello. Yeah, I'm excited about taking this on. Working with SoCal 350 here in Los Angeles. I have a long history with fighting offshore drilling. Back in 2009, we were fighting Truncheon Ridge off of Santa Barbara County, and it was it went on a couple years of fighting it out statewide at the State Lands Commission and in the county of Santa Barbara. And the only reason we did a lot in fighting it, but the only reason we prevailed was because of the Deepwater Horizon that reminded everyone that drill baby drill had serious consequences. So for this to come up again is unconscionable, and I think it's really important for us to come together and you know, make a difference here.
Great, thanks, Jack. It's really great to have you on the call too. Anyone else? I think Blake is the only person who could see who's raising hands. So Blake, anyone else?
Nope, doesn't look like it.
All right. Well, y'all are wallflowers, little shy sheep here. That is totally okay. I'd also just like to remind folks that if you have the capacity to share your webcam, whether it's on your phone or on your computer, we strongly encourage that you do so because we really love seeing people's faces, and we know that in-person meetings are best. So again, if you're able to share your webcam either on your smartphone or on your computer, please go ahead and do so. So we're actually just going to keep on moving then. Of course, you'll have plenty of opportunities to share in the future. Thanks to everyone. I'm going to hand it over to Blake for a brief campaign overview now.
Awesome. Thanks, Ash. Yeah, so I'm going to give a quick update on sort of the political context of where we are in the fight to protect our oceans from the proposed dramatic expansion of offshore drilling by the Trump administration, which Secretary of the Interior Ryan Zinke announced in early January. So the plan, again, would aim to expand offshore drilling in all of America's oceans. So on the East Coast, that's from Maine to Florida, and from San Diego to the Canadian border on the West Coast, surrounding the entire state of Alaska and throughout the entirety of the Gulf of Mexico. And that would precipitate a massive expansion of fossil fuel infrastructure, including new offshore oil platforms, leaky pipelines, and oil refineries. Perhaps not surprisingly, the administration is simultaneously working to roll back drilling safety regulations that were put in place after the BP Deepwater Horizon disaster. So it's only a matter of time before we'd be faced with another catastrophic oil spill that would destroy coastal communities and devastate marine wildlife like sea otters, dolphins, pelicans, and sea turtles. It's not only the catastrophic oil spills that we need to worry about. The Center for Biological Diversity ran an analysis on this proposed drilling plan, and it could lead to over 5,000 oil spills, dumping over 34 million gallons of oil into ocean waters off of Alaska, both the East and West Coast, and in the Gulf of Mexico. And right when we're on the verge of reaching some irreversible climatic tipping points, burning the fossil fuels in the area proposed in the plan would contribute 50 gigatons of CO2 to the atmosphere, which is nearly the entire carbon dioxide budget allotted to the United States to stay below 2 degrees warming, let alone 1.5. So in summary, it would mean beaches covered in oil, dead marine life, and climate chaos if the plan were allowed to go through. So why are passing resolutions an effective campaign tactic to help stop this plan? So one of our, this is one of the key tactics that we've been implementing to stop this egregious assault on our oceans and coast, and it's passing local resolutions opposing not only offshore drilling, but fracking as well in cities up and down the coast of California. We passed our first local resolution in Santa Barbara back in July of last year, and since then nearly 40 communities up and down the state have passed their own version of these. The city of San Diego just passed one today, which puts us, I think, at a total of 39, though it's actually getting hard to keep track because so many of them are passing every week now. Several of these resolutions have been spearheaded and passed by local activists in the Ignite Change network. Now, this tactic, passing local resolutions, was the key to protecting the Atlantic coast from new drilling during the Obama administration, and we're really replicating that here on the West Coast. Now, again, I mentioned The West Coast resolution, they not only oppose drilling off of our coast, but they also oppose offshore fracking and other well stimulation in federal and state waters off the coast of California, as well as opposing new drilling in all of our oceans. So we really made the resolutions here that we're working on in California more comprehensive. And our goal is to pass 100 of these on the West Coast by the end of this year. Now, the end of the year is when we expect the next iteration of this drilling plan to be released. So there is a lot of work to do to get to 100, and that is, of course, why all of you are here today. I'm going to give a little bit more context of why Los Angeles County in particular is key to the fight to stop, again, Trump's reckless attack on our coastal communities and our oceans and climate. So the first is it's coastal, and therefore it supports, well, one, it supports a massive coastal economy through fishing, recreation, and tourism. And of course, that means it has coastal residents that will directly be impacted by the impacts of offshore drilling, as well as sea level rise from climate change. It's also the most populous county in California, and there's significant offshore oil and gas activity off Los Angeles County coast as well, in particular off of Long Beach. There's also a ton of fossil fuel infrastructure that supports onshore and offshore oil and gas development. And then finally, it is also a congressional hotspot. So Congress members Ed Royce and Steve Knight are both key congressional targets in the larger campaign to stop new offshore oil and gas. And both of their districts are partially in Los Angeles County. And so passing resolutions in those congressional districts really runs pressure up the ladder and really targets those key Congress members who we think we need to change their position on the issue if we're going to win at the federal level. Our calculus is that the Trump administration doesn't care nearly as much what Democrats think as what Republicans think. So if we can get some key congressional Republicans in California to oppose offshore drilling, that is to make offshore drilling bipartisan in California, we think we have a much better chance of stopping drilling off of our coast. Now, LA City and LA County have both passed resolutions already, but we need way more cities in Los Angeles County to pass them, again, as part of our effort to get to 100 resolutions. Excellent. Okay, that's what I've got. I am going to kick it back over to Ash. Oh, Ash is muted, and I have to unmute her. I have the power. There you go.
Cool. All right. Thanks, Blake. Okay, so if you didn't catch that, LA is the center of the universe. Not really, unless you want it to be. But actually, LA is super important, and that's why you're all here tonight, actually, because we need cities around LA to pass resolutions, really to like make a huge doggy pile and push the pressure upwards. And that's where you come in right now. And the first step to passing a resolution is organizing locally and hosting a meeting. So if you haven't set up a meeting about passing an offshore resolution in your hometown, then you can do this with your existing group, or we can help you plan and recruit by doggy piling from the Ignite Change list. So meetings are really great ways to spread the work, craft a winning plan, and most importantly, make more connections with like-minded people in your community. So you'll pick a time and a place, and then you'll add it to the Ignite Change map. And then you can do this at your home or at a public space or wherever. And then once you sign up and get that up on the Ignite Change map, then we'll help connect you with other activists in your area and provide resources and materials about how to pass a resolution. Okay, cool. So this is a call about taking action, because we know action gets the goods. So if you are interested in taking this first step and making these resolutions happen and hosting a meeting, an organizing meeting in your hometown, and you're on video, then click yes in the poll now. And Blake's gonna pull up a poll. Thank you, Blake. Again, if you're interested in hosting a meeting, go ahead and click yes on the poll now. And if you're on the phone, don't worry about it. We got you covered. Look for an email after the call to sign up. So you may be wondering like, oh my gosh, I don't know, like a meeting, this is actually kind of a ton of work. It's actually all about making connections and doing some just kind of down-home recruitment. You can start close to home and proactively invite your friends, family, coworkers, neighbors. You can put it on listservs and networks you're on or groups or organizations that you're part of. And then just start to branch out over social media, post it on community calendars, newsletters, message boards, that kind of stuff. If you're feeling active, you could also present or do outreach at different organizational meetings or a table and flyer at different events. Bottom line is that after you start your recruitment, we'll be there to supplement and augment your recruitment to other Ignite Change members in your area. And then we'll help you do the work of beginning the campaign planning. Again, we will follow up with you after this call, but then also after you sign up to support your recruitment and send you additional materials like a sample agenda for your hosted meeting and printed materials, things like that. And then in that meeting, you may be wondering like, well, what am I actually going to talk about? In that meeting, you'll focus on getting your group off the ground and building the foundations of the resolution campaign, including who's doing what, the roles, the tasks involved. So really actually laying the framework to moving this resolution with gusto. So one last time, now that you have a little bit more information, if you are interested in hosting a meeting and you're on video, then go ahead. We're just doing one last check. Go ahead and click this this poll, yes, in the poll now. Thank you, Blake, for sending that poll. Okay, again, if you're on the phone, don't worry about it. We will send you an email after this and take a peek for that. That's a great place for you to sign up. Okay, so now we're actually going to take a deep dive into the how-to guide. And I'm going to actually just paste that in the chat box here. Give me 1 second. And then Blake is going to run over that guide with you right now.
Excellent. Okay, thanks, Ash. Much appreciated. Yeah, so we have set up and built out this step-by-step guide that will sort of guide your way at each step in the process to passing a local resolution in your hometown. I will start with sort of the disclaimer that none of these resolutions seem to progress in the same manner. Some, we've passed some by simply sending an email to a sympathetic city council member who has then put it on the agenda the next week and passed it on a consent calendar the week after. But some of them have taken a lot more work. I think Santa Barbara, our first one, took almost 6 months to get up and passed. So again, not all of these happen in the same way, but there's sort of a set of principles and guidelines that generally follow that has been a winning strategy, again, to pass several dozen of these now. So if you all want to follow along, you are more than welcome. I'm just checking here. Ash, you might have sent that Google Doc just to me. So I'm going to go ahead. Or Ash, yeah, can you resend that to everyone in the chat box? Great. Perfect. Thanks, Ash. Okay, excellent. So if people want to follow along, you're more than welcome to. I know this is a lot of information in here, but I'm going to skim through it pretty quick. Okay, so step number 1, identify a likely sponsor or champion for the resolution in your city government. So this is really the first step. You want to find someone who you think would be potentially interested or excited to introduce a resolution. And again, this could be, well, since we've already passed the LA County one, this will most likely be in your city or town as well. There's not really any there aren't any really secrets to figuring out who's going to be a sympathetic council member. Google is your friend here, and often there'll be bios of the city council members on the city website. So don't be afraid to go on the city website and snoop around and look for characteristics of a council member who you think would support the environment or is excited about defending your coastline or is concerned with climate change. And then the next step is to go ahead and reach out to that person. Now, part of this guide is we've compiled a bunch of resources that you can use to plug and play. So for example, we have crafted a sample letter that you can just plug in a few different pieces of information into and send along to your city council member that you've identified. We also suggest sending along a sample resolution. So, each city is going to pass the version of their resolution that makes sense to their municipality, but we want to send along a sample one. And part of the reason we want to do that is, again, we really built up this comprehensive resolution that generally opposes all offshore oil and gas development, not just new drilling. So we want to send along that strong version to the council member. If your city council member is not responsive, it may be more effective to email a staff person that works specifically on environmental issues for that council member. You may have to send out several emails or follow up with a phone call. After working on quite a few of these resolutions, step 2 is really where a lot of these resolutions die if you don't persevere. Oftentimes you'll send off a letter to a city council member, but they're exceptionally busy, and so you may never hear back. And if you don't sort of double down and decide to persevere and be persistent, then oftentimes you won't make it past step 1. So step 2 is really being about tenacious. You want to be polite, of course, but don't be afraid to be persistent and to continue to reach out. And if you don't hear back from your city council member, change it up. Reach out to a different council member, find a staff person, get creative, make phone calls. So again, be persistent. Now, step number 3 is asking for an in-person meeting. This isn't something that you'll always have to do. Sometimes the city council member will, again, write back and say, hey, this is a great idea. We really appreciate this. We will introduce it. But sometimes they won't. Sometimes they'd like to have a discussion with you about the proposal, and it's a great idea to set up a meeting in person. And that way you can have a face-to-face conversation with them about the campaign and about why you really want to see your city government pass a resolution opposing new offshore oil and gas drilling and fracking. And again, we've got a bunch of materials for you to help with the meeting. We've got some talking points, and we've also got a campaign fact sheet that you can share with staff in the meeting. It's also not a bad idea to reach out to some friends and other activists in your community to build support for the resolution, and then bring some of them to the meeting as well, if you like. Okay, so then when you're really in business when you get the resolution put on the agenda. So once the resolution is moving forward, it's great to mobilize other people in your community so that they can come to the city council meeting and urge the council to pass the resolution. You can also ask people to send in letters of support, to sign a petition, to make phone calls into the city council member's office and urge them to support the resolution, and then again to turn out to the city council meeting. Again, we've got a whole bunch of materials to help you do all those things. We've got a sample letter of support. We've got a sample petition. We have an email that you can send to your community in order to help drive turnout. We've got a sample Facebook event page that you can mimic in order to share with your digital community in order to help people drive people to the event. We've also got a sample letter to the editor that you can send around to local media in order to generate more media attention on the issue. Okay, now step 5 is the city council will vote on the resolution. This is obviously the most exciting moment. Bring your friends, show up to the meeting, and ideally you give a public testimony. Oftentimes, whether or not the city council resolution is on the consent calendar, meaning that the council doesn't expect any opposition to it, or whether the council is actually going to have a formal vote on the item, there will be generally an opportunity to provide public comment. So definitely show up with some friends, family, and make a statement in support of the resolution at the city council meeting. And again, we've got sample talking points. We even have a sample public testimony written up for you as well. Step 6 is press and thank yous. So once you have succeeded in passing your local resolution, it's good to put out a press release. We've got a sample PR that you're welcome to tweak and send around to any media outlets that you may know of. The Center for Biological Diversity is also happy to help with that. We have full-time media staff here that can tweak a PR specifically for your city and town and do distribution. We can include a quote from you or the council member who introduced it and helped pass it. You're also going to want to follow up with any thank you letters, thanking the elected representatives who sponsored and voted for the resolution. And then, of course, don't forget to celebrate on social media. And we even have a sample social media toolkit. So again, we've got all the resources ready for you to plug and play with. And that is it from top to bottom. So, okay. Thanks for letting me walk you all through that. I think now I am going to go ahead and open it up for questions. Let's see, we've got about, wow, we got quite a bit of time. Actually went through that pretty quick. Ash had to jump off, so it's going to be me sort of fielding the technology and answering the questions. So bear with me as I work to get to all of you. So again, for questions, the way that you're going to want to indicate that you have a question is by raising your hand. And so if you click on the participants icon at the bottom of your screen, then that should give you an opportunity to raise your hand, and then that will let me know that you've got a question, and then I will call on you and unmute you. So if you've got any questions about anything, feel free to raise your hand. Okay, so we've got some questions that people, it looks like people have but aren't indicating on, oh, okay, here we go. So first let's go to, oops, hold on one second. Julia, I'm trying to unmute you, but it's not working for some reason. Are you,
wait, I think I just, didn't you hear me now?
Oh, there we go. Hi, Julia.
Hi.
Hello.
Okay, so I live in Los Angeles, and you say that the resolution has been passed in my city.
Yes, that's true. It has already, actually.
So is there a way that I can be effective for other cities that I don't live in?
Yeah, that is a very good question. So, you know, ideally, local activists were going to be most effective, you know, if you're a constituent to your city government, which is of course why you're asking this specific question. You know, we have had some activists in LA reach out to other city councils. You know, I reach out to city councils and say, hey, this is something that we'd love to see your city pass. But you know, Julia, to be honest, we've got sort of another set of things that we're asking people to work on who are in cities that have already passed resolutions. And the main one actually is a set of state legislature bills that have been introduced that would stop new infrastructure from supporting any new offshore oil and gas development. So these are Senate Bill 834 and Assembly Bill 1775, which have been introduced by Senator Jackson, and Assemblymember Muratsuchi. And this would be sort of a last line of defense that California is working to set up to, again, stop oil companies, if they do get new leases, from actually bringing any of that oil onshore into California. So I think that would be probably the most effective way for you to plug into the campaign, since, again, you're already in LA City. And I would be delighted to follow up with you with some information about those bills and how to plug you in to that effort.
Okay, great.
Does that sound good?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Thank you. Oops, hold on. I'm just taking some notes too. All right. Okay, cool. Thank you, Julia. Let's see. All right. So let's go to Darcy, who happens to be my mom as well. Hi, Mom. Do you have a question? Oh, hey, Mom, you're off mute, but we can't hear you. I'm not sure why. Hold on. That might be my fault. It looks like, hey, Mom, it looks like your microphone on your computer is not actually turned on. Okay, Mom's having technical difficulties. Mom, we will come back to you if you figure out what's going on. Actually, Mom, you should be, I'm not sure. I can't help you troubleshoot that one from my end, unfortunately. You can also type your question into the chat box, Mom. Oh, here we go. Nope, your hand is up, but your microphone is not on for some reason. Sorry about that. Okay, Mom, you should type your question into the chat box, and I will try to answer it that way. Okay, who else has a question for me about hosting a meeting, about how to pass a resolution? Okay, Jennifer, give me one sec. Jennifer, okay, you are off mute.
Yeah, I had the same question as Julia, and I'd also like to know how to the follow-up with, I'm in Los Angeles, and with
Okay.
this.
Yeah, I know it makes it a little bit more difficult because LA City actually passed a resolution the day that Trump issued his executive order. They were the very first city to pass a resolution, which was really exciting. You know, there is, interestingly, another idea that we could pursue, which I have actually started kicking around, which is the LA City Council resolution. Since it was the first one, it only opposes new offshore drilling in federal waters. And it's not one of the more comprehensive resolutions that also opposes new offshore fracking and other well stimulation in state and federal waters. And so there might be an opportunity as well to try to get the city of Los Angeles to pass a stronger resolution. And I actually think that's worth pursuing too. So Jennifer and Julia, I'm going to circle back up with both of you after this, and we can explore a couple options, okay?
Sounds good.
Great, thank you. Okay, let's see. Other questions. It looks like Jack's got a question as well. Okay, Jack, you are off mute. Go ahead.
Thank you. So I also live in LA, but you know, I work over a wide geography. If there's, it seems to me, I think if the people in a specific city need to lead it, but I think others can support. So for instance, if we could find some people at West Hollywood or Beverly Hills or Santa Monica to lead the effort in those cities, those of us who live in LA certainly are, you know, are fair game to participate in that. So my hope is that we can get some interest in getting groups together for focusing on these cities, as well as other South Bay cities that are a little further afield. So I think that we shouldn't just limit it to, I mean, yeah, for an individual to start something, it's hard if they don't live in that city, but they certainly can support it. As I started off saying, you know, I was fighting offshore drilling in Santa Barbara, and they kept saying, you have no right to come here. You're not from Santa Barbara. Well, you know, I'm a graduate of the UCSB and I have a long history out there, but I have just as much right as everyone to speak out on the issues that affect our coast. And so I think that as long as we can get some people in the cities that need it, maybe we can all work together to participate in these actions.
Awesome. Yep, I agree completely, and thanks for articulating that. I appreciate it. I am a fellow gaucho as well, so right on. Okay, great. Well, yeah, thanks, Jack. Appreciated. Okay, who else has a question? Anyone else? We got a little bit more time. Okay, Mom wrote that. Mom, are you saying you want to help get a meeting going for Rancho Palos Verdes? Right on. Okay, excellent. So thanks, Mom. It sounds like anyone who lives in Rancho Palos Verdes, or maybe, for example, who lives in LA City but wants to help in other places, Darcy is going to get a meeting going. And again, the goal coming out of this is that handfuls of you, and I know you all, a bunch of you already said yes to the poll. A bunch of you will actually get a meeting set up here sometime in the next week or two. Again, we've got a sample agenda to help you actually, run through the meeting, and we can help do recruitment as well. So that is exciting. Thanks, Mom, for volunteering to do that. Okay. Anyone else who's on video who wants to ask a question that isn't able to raise their hand through the little chat box? Any other questions? Okay. Well, we powered through that in 40 minutes, which is pretty exciting because I tend to be a little bit loquacious, and so I'm excited that we got through it, and y'all get to get out of here and go enjoy the rest of your evening. Before we sign off, I just want to say, yeah, thanks again for all of you for joining us this evening. I know that the country is under assault from all sides, and so finding time to work on another issue I know can be daunting, but this attack on our coasts and our communities and our climate is unprecedented. And so I am really excited to be working with all of you and really appreciate all of your time and energy. Just want to reiterate that this isn't the end of our relationship. It's really just the beginning. We, again, are going to follow up with some follow-up materials and be in touch in the coming weeks to make sure that y'all can get meetings up and running, and we can help you every step of the way as you work to pass a local resolution in your own hometown. We're going to get to 100 by the end of the year, and we are going to stop Trump's plan to turn our oceans into oil fields. Oh, it looks like we have a last minute question. Okay. Jane, if you are still on the call, you are off mute. So go ahead. Jane, do you have a question? Okay, sorry about that, Jane. We can't hear you. It looks like you're unmuted. If you are on the phone, you might be on mute. Okay, well, apologies for the slight technical difficulties. Jane, feel free to send an email to me or to Ash if you want to ask a question. We'll follow up. Okay, thanks again, everyone. It was a pleasure, and we will be in touch soon. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I unmuted everyone, so you can all say bye.
Thanks.
Hello.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.